Yo, what's poppin' everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Lesage here. Today we're going to be going over some of the brand new decks that we might see at the 2024 Pokemon World Championships. We get Shrouded Fables before Worlds, which means the metagame is going to be a little bit different from what we left off at NEIC towards Worlds. Now, I don't want to make this the most clickbaity video ever, because we might see some other decks, maybe some Gardevoir, some other decks that have previously seen some success, but these are some new decks that we're getting from Shrouded Fable that might impact the metagame. Lists are available in the pinned comment below. Let's check out these decks. So Charizard is one of the bigger decks that we're going to see at the World Championships. Undeniably, I think this might be one of the favorite decks for many players to play. And the reason why is because Charizard is quite a good deck. I saw Ethan Heggie on X post about some Japanese tournaments from a recent 3x3, saw some of the lists, and it seemed like a lot of people were just running Charizard with Dusknoir. Why Dusknoir? Well, Dusknoir and Dusclops both have an ability that you could place damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you do, knock out the Dusknoir or Dusclops, and your opponent draws a prize card. 13 for Dusknoir, 5 for Dusclops. It has to be the same Pokemon. And you might be like, okay, cool, we might be able to increase our damage output. But the real big thing that we get from this deck is being able to knock out a small HP Pokemon, a 70 HP Pokemon with Dusknoir, or maybe bring a 2 prize card Pokemon to that level that we can knock them out. Not only are we knocking them out, we're setting ourselves behind a prize card, increasing Charizard EX's damage. Now, this gives us a lot of opportunities to abuse with Iono, maybe abuse with Unfair Stamp. We have a cool few ways to manipulate our opponent drawing a prize card. Defiance Band is another one, giving us a lot of opportunities. So I think this deck works out pretty cool to increase the popularity of Charizard, making it more of a skill-based deck, giving you more option over your cards, and of course, allowing Duskull, Dusknoir, and Dusclops to see some play. Another new card that we get into this deck is going to be Pheasantipity EX, similar to Oricorio EX that we've had in previous formats, or I should say Oricorio GX, getting all these X's mixed up. Drawing 3 cards after one of your Pokemon was knocked out allows us to kind of have the barrel type effect as a basic Pokemon. It is worth 2 prize cards, but we have the Professor Turo, we have Collapse Stadium, and if our opponent is not knocking out our Pidgeot, maybe they're knocking out Pheasantipity, like we have options to have 2 Pokemon in play that we can utilize. So Charizard has gained a couple new things, and there's a few decks that might run Dusknoir. There's a handful of decks that could run Pheasantipity. I'm still not sure which decks should be running Pheasantipity right now. I'm still not sure which deck should be running Dusknoir. I did have some ideas of maybe playing Petrant EX and Binding Mochi in this deck. Charizard gained some new stuff from Shrouded Fable, and it might be one of the better decks that we see at Worlds. Typically, Charizard is a go-to for many top players. I don't see a reason why it's not going to be go-to deck going forward. If you haven't already, give this video a like, share, subscribe, and let's jump into the next deck that we might see at Worlds. While I'm still unsure if this deck's actually going to make a splash at Worlds or not, it is a deck that is coming out in Shrouded Fable. You get the new Darkness Toolbox, and this arguably has the most new cards in it out of all these new decks. At least I think so. It's a deck that's literally born with this set. We have the Okidoki EX, which is going to be our aggressive attacker in this set, giving us an opportunity to do 130 plus another 130 if you're poisoned. You got to factor in the poison damage, so we're at 130 plus 130, 260, plus 10 from poison, 270. But we also have the new card, Binding Mochi, which if we're poisoned, we can do additional 30 damage. That brings us from 270 to 300. Giving us a decent bit of damage in general. And I think it's 30, it might be 40. I think it's actually 40, so bringing us to 310. Regardless, not enough to knock out that big, bad Charizard. Well, that's where we have Kieran in this deck, or Monkey Dory, the Psychic type one. Get those extra damage counters wherever necessary. That's all good and fine, but how are we poisoning ourselves? Well, we have Petrant EX. Petrant EX moving one of your basic Pokemon out of the active with one of your Darkness Pokemon on your bench. You bring up that new Darkness Pokemon. That Pokemon is now poisoned. We also have Janine's Secret Technique as a supporter to accelerate energies and make our Pokemon poisoned. So we have ways to make them poisoned, we have ways to accelerate energies, we have ways to move them in and out of the active spot, we have ways to draw cards with Pheasantipity EX, We have ways to reduce our damage output, or to reduce our prize card footprint, I should say, with Monkey Dory EX. We have ways to get back our item cards with the Darkrai VSTAR. We have ways to search it. Like, we have so many cool tools when it comes to this deck, and I'm not sure how it's going to be finalized, but this is one of the coolest decks we have in our format. And I think it might just get past where Raging Bolt once was, because we have more opportunities for single prize card Pokemon. We have more opportunities to move Pokemon in and out of the active spot. We have more control over our games, or at least it seems like that so far. It's fairly early. We're about 2 months before the World Championships, so I just want to make sure that this deck really brings us to where we want it to be. So I hope that this list is close enough for you to try out, but it is one of the decks that I could see a few players playing at Worlds, and it might actually have the kind of footing to hold up to the rest of the metagame. Like we saw at the 2024 North American International Championships, Regidrago is back with Teal Mask Ogerpon. And Regidrago is going to copy your Dragon-type Pokemon out of your discard pile, giving yourself some opportunities to have some cool things going on there. Now, we have a couple new Dragon-type Pokemon from Shrouded Fable, namely being Haxorus. Haxorus doing for a single energy, which we could just copy with whatever we have. If your opponent's active Pokemon has a special energy attached to it, they're knocked out. Be a 2-prizer, it could be a Lugia V-Star and Iron Hands. We could just knock them out, and having that as an option allows us to diversify our dragons that we have in this deck. We also have the new Kyurem, which for 5 energies normally, or if your opponent has a Colress in play, hit 110 to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. I think you have to discard some energies after that as well, but being able to pull a Radiant Greninja or an enhanced Radiant Greninja out of your gameplay whenever possible, that could certainly be huge, giving this deck some better matchups across the board. We also, another new card we've seen is Night Stretcher in these decks. So kind of like a Super Rod, or kind of like a Super Rod. You could search your discard pile for a Pokemon or a basic energy card and put it into your hand. Just one, not one of each, not shuffling them into your deck. One of a Pokemon or one of a basic energy and putting it back into your hand. That could be that next Teal Mask Ogerpon. It could be that the energy needed to accelerate. It could be whatever you need to make all the pieces going, but I think it makes this deck slightly better. Card that I might want to add in here is Pheasantipity. Might work out nicely when it comes to playing this deck, because we are very 2-prize card centric. So maybe it's something that I need to stop overthinking, or maybe it is something that I should be overthinking. With the metagame still being new, it's hard to determine which decks we should and should not put these cards into. If I base it off of Japan and what I've seen, they have almost every single deck playing Pheasantipity. It's literally like there's always going to be 2 prize cards on the board. We'll have to find out if that plays out like the same in North America. Are there any decks so far that you think that I've forgotten about? Any decks that you're expecting on this list? Let us know in the comments below. One cool thing about the Shuffle Squad channel is we get back to all comments on the channel. I mean, I say all, it's pretty much all the ones that are productive and pretty ones that are nice. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let us know. We're there to take care of it. Let's see what our next deck is. United Wings is back, baby! We gained a new United Wing attacker, and it's actually something that should be noted. It is grass type. So not only does this deck previously have the dark, the colorless, which nothing is weak to colorless right now, and Wattrel being lightning, we add a 3rd type of attacking weakness in this deck. So if you play something that's weak to dark, lightning, or grass, we could do doubly damage. And we have the new United Wing Pokemon, which means we could do 4, 8, 320 damage if we're copying with a Ditto. We gained a couple new cards when it comes to this deck throughout kind of the past few sets. Secret Box, Rescue Board, Tatsugiri. Again, this is another deck that could be running the Pheasantipity, and it probably should be when I look at it. Like, we already have the Squawkabilly in our deck, but maybe we want to just rely on single prize card Pokemon after we play Collapse Stadium. We certainly have enough of an interest of a deck here, and I think it's really one of those things where if Charizard's as big as it is, having a grass-type Pokemon is going to be huge. Charizard's not big, cut those Rowlets out, gain 2 spaces back. We don't need to have Dartrick as an attacker. We can always play around with our attackers based off what is big, and in this case, I think Charizard's big enough to warrant a couple Rowlets that we have, just so we can knock out some Zards for some massive numbers. single prize card decks that knock out some of the bigger decks in format are going to be quite impactful. And I mean, being able to pitch your Pokemon however you want with new cards like Carmine, Research, all that good stuff, really giving this deck an opportunity to see success. United Wings never really got a chance to fly high, but adding an additional 80 damage really could change things up, because we see how quickly something like a Monkey Dory going into Guard of War made it the absolute best deck in formats. Could this be a little bit more like that? We'll have to find out as the metagame shapes up, but I wouldn't necessarily count out this otherwise fun deck that is now gaining some extra legs in this competition. Shrouded Fable gave us Dartrix. Will we have an opportunity to see success with it? We'll have to find out at Worlds. Let's jump into our next deck. The last deck that I'm going to be covering over today is going to be Kingdra EX. Now, at first when I saw Kingdra EX, I thought it might have been a card that I'm pairing with Serena EX and Vanillix, but I didn't necessarily think about pairing it with Kingdra EX, Kingdra, and Baxcalibur until I saw some Japanese lists on Pokekebook. Now, we have ways to accelerate energies to our Pokemon, and Kingdra's doing 50 plus 50 for each energy attached to it, giving us a lot of opportunities to kind of attack into our opponent's favor, kind of like a stage 2 Chen Pao EX deck. But since we're summoning our Kingdras with other Kingdras, we could summon our Baxcalibur, and we don't necessarily need to get as many pieces out as possible. We have more HP, we have more damage output. Maybe this is better Chen Pao? We'll have to find out. Kingdra gives us a built-in kind of Iono-like effect, and this is honestly one of those first few opportunities where Candace has an opportunity to really shine here, looking for energy, looking for Pokemon that are water type. The deck list is looking kind of basic. I mean, a lot of these lists are playing Secret Box. It's actually one of my favorite ace specs as of late. I mean, maybe it's because of my day 2 at NEIC. Maybe it's one of those cards that you should be picking up now because it looks like it's quite good. Being able to discard some cards from your hand, like these stage 2 Pokemon that we want to be discarding. Searching our deck for an item, a supporter, a stadium. Maybe we want to get a Pokemon tool up in this deck. Not entirely sure which one. This is my first draft at Kingdra EX. I don't want to say any of these decks that I'm bringing directly to the World Championships. Charizard, I might have a little bit more understanding of that deck because it's a deck that's previously seen success. However, a deck like this, where I'm going based off of a Japanese list that I've seen on a forum and based off my experience playing water type decks in the past. So, cool concept list for this video. I think Kingdra EX has an opportunity to see success. And I guess I'll ask you this, with this being my last video, or my last deck in this video, is there an opportunity that I forgot a deck? Is there a deck that you think is coming out for Worlds? I didn't want to necessarily include any of the older decks. These are newer decks or decks that have gained a significant lot from Shrouded Fable heading into Worlds. Let me close things out. And that's what we got going on for this video today. I hope that you enjoyed learning more about these new decks. Maybe I got them all, maybe I didn't. Let me know in the comments. I do read all the comments. Join my Discord server that I've posted in the description if you want to learn a little bit more. And I mean, I'm also running some classes going on, so check out some of those. I think I got an Ancient box going on this week. Always running Metafy classes, so check those out. Also, individual coaching, hit me up for some of that. A lot of really great content heading into Worlds. As for me, you're probably in the next few videos gonna start going away. I'm in the process of getting prepared for a pretty big across the country move in Canada, going from the Toronto area to the Montreal area, so that's certainly exciting. So that's plus a hectic summer, plus a very pregnant wife at home, baby on the way, World Championships. I'm keeping it busy, but I hope that you all enjoy watching this content. Really hope that you're enjoying it. And I mean, if you watched my last video, which was the Shrouded Fable set review, I do want to apologize. I believe my audio quality wasn't up to the standards. I went through the process of changing the USB that it was plugged into, making sure that it was slotted in correctly to one that could power it enough, updating the driver of my HyperX, updating the direction, and just a lot of the settings, going through filters, updating OBS. I do take feedback, and it's not always going to be the best feedback that I'm always going to receive. Like, it sucks to make a video that I put in probably 4 or 5 hours into, and someone's like, your mic sucks. And I agree. So if you watch that video and you're like, hey, you want to know what, Zach's mic sounds better, or maybe you have some other suggestions. I'm not an audio engineer or anything else like that. I'm a dude that loves Pokemon who is somehow here. And I'm just kind of wading my way through. So regardless, if you watch up to this point, I really appreciate all y'all for always giving me feedback. And it's not always going to be the best feedback, but I appreciate it anyways. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm excited to create more content for you heading into Worlds. That being said, stay tuned for more content from the squad. I'll catch up with all y'all later. Peace out and have a great one. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes. You made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from the Shuffle Squad. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate each and every person that supports our content, watches what we have going on every single day, every single week, even from time to time, and continuously allows us to have a forum to project our creative content towards the Pokemon TCG community. So if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment to help boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, we'll catch you with our next video. Thanks again. Take it easy.